Hey everyone, and welcome back to our adventure through time. Alex and Mia here, and you will not believe where we've landed this time. The portal shimmered and dropped us right in the middle of an ancient town. It's bustling, it's dusty, and it feels important. We followed the sound of voices and found ourselves outside a simple-looking house. Peeking through the window, we saw a man named Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends. But inside, the mood was heavy. Peter's mother-in-law was lying in bed, and you could just tell she was really, really sick with a high fever. Her face was pale, she was shivering under the blankets, and everyone around her looked so worried. It's that feeling you get when someone you love is unwell, and you feel completely helpless. Alex and I just watched, our hearts going out to this family. We didn't know what was going to happen next, but we had a feeling we were about to witness something unforgettable. The air was thick with concern, a quiet tension that filled the small room. Everyone was just waiting, hoping for something, anything, to change. Just as we were wondering what they would do, Jesus walked into the room. You know, there's something about the way he enters a space. It's like a quiet calm follows him in. He didn't make a big show or a loud announcement. He simply went over to the bedside where Peter's mother-in-law was lying. Peter and the others watched him, their faces a mixture of hope and anxiety. We held our breath, peeking through the window frame, trying to see everything. Jesus looked at her with such compassion, a kindness that you could feel even from where we were standing. He reached out and gently took her by the hand. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a simple human touch. But the moment his hand met hers, something incredible happened. It was like a switch was flipped. The shivering stopped. The pained look on her face just melted away. Color returned to her cheeks, and her eyes, which had been dull with sickness, suddenly became bright and clear. The fever was gone. Not slowly, not over a few hours. It was instant. 1 second she was terribly ill, and the next she was completely well. The change was so sudden, it was breathtaking. Everyone in the room just stared, completely stunned. One moment, they were gathered around a sick bed, and the next, she was sitting up, looking around as if she'd just woken from a long nap. And she wasn't just sitting up. She was swinging her legs over the side of the bed. We saw a huge smile spread across her face, a genuine, joyful smile that lit up the entire room. She stood up, steady on her feet, as if she hadn't been weak with fever just moments before. And what's the first thing she did? She didn't just thank Jesus and lie back down. No, she immediately started bustling around the house, getting food and drinks for everyone. Can you believe that? She went from being completely bedridden to serving her guests, full of energy and strength. Her movements were quick and purposeful, full of life. The atmosphere in the house transformed from worry and sadness to pure joy and amazement. Laughter filled the air as she offered them bread and water, her actions a powerful living testament to the miracle that had just occurred. It wasn't just that she was healed. It was that she was instantly restored to full health, able to serve and care for others. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the town, news of what had happened in Peter's house spread like wildfire. You could hear whispers traveling from house to house, neighbor to neighbor. Did you hear? She was healed. Instantly. Soon, a small crowd began to gather outside the door. Then the small crowd grew into a large one. People started bringing their loved ones who were sick or suffering. The street filled with families carrying their relatives on mats, friends supporting those who couldn't walk, and parents holding their ailing children. It was a heartbreaking and yet hopeful sight. The whole town seemed to pour out into the evening, drawn by the possibility of a miracle. And Jesus didn't turn anyone away. He came out to meet them, and one by one he healed them. He would lay his hands on them, or simply touch them, and whatever sickness or affliction they had, it would leave. Fevers broke, pain vanished, and people who had been suffering for years were made whole right there in the street. The evening was filled with gasps of astonishment, tears of joy, and shouts of praise. It was a massive town-wide display of healing and compassion. Watching all of this unfold was just, wow. I turned to Mia, and my mind was racing. One touch, Mia, that's all it took. Just one touch from him, and she was completely fine. It's one thing to hear stories, but to see it with our own eyes, it's something else entirely. The power in that simple gesture was just immense. Mia nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. She said, "It's like God is right here with the people who are hurting the most. He doesn't stay away from the sick or the broken. He goes right to them." And she was so right. We saw him touch people with all kinds of diseases, people that others might have been afraid to go near. But for Jesus, it didn't matter. His love was bigger than any fear or any illness. It made us realize that no one is too broken or too sick for God to care about. He meets people right where they are, in their moment of greatest need, and brings hope and healing. It was a powerful lesson, not just about miracles, but about the nature of love and compassion. Just when we thought the night couldn't get any more intense, a new light began to pulse from our portal. It was a different color this time, a soft, ethereal glow that seemed to call to us. We knew it was time for our next jump. As we turned towards it, we saw a figure slowly emerging from the shadows at the edge of the crowd. He was walking towards Jesus, but people were backing away from him, creating a wide circle. The man was covered in sores. He was a leper. In this time, that was one of the most feared diseases, and those who had it were forced to live completely isolated. To see him approach Jesus sent a hush through the entire crowd. What was going to happen? Would Jesus turn away? Would he heal him too? The man's eyes were filled with a desperate plea. The portal was glowing brighter, pulling at us, but our eyes were fixed on this unfolding drama. What will Jesus do? We'll find out together in the next episode. Remember, if you're ever feeling sick or alone, there is hope. God is with you, and his touch can bring healing. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.